Moving on, we've got the battle for the Cyhawk Trophy, Trey, in Iowa City. I've got some family members that are particularly invested in this one. As number 25, Iowa hosts Iowa State. The Hawkeyes are 2.5-point favorites, 2:30 p.m. on CBS. Trey, the vaunted Iowa offense scored 40 points last week. What did you make from week one of the Hawkeyes without a Ferentz on the sideline? And do you think they can repeat anything close to that against the Clones?
I mean, is it a chicken egg situation? Is Ferentz the complete absence of Ferentz on the sideline
Yeah.
finally unlocking the Iowa offense? I don't know. We might need to ask some questions if they look back at their old self this weekend in the Cyhawk game. But man, I kept pinning through the stats, and I went back and watched a little bit of this game, especially the second half, because I was just looking for something, right? I was looking like, okay, did they get short fields? Did they have big punt returns? Did they, how was Iowa able to score 40 points? And what I found was they drove the field and completed a ton of forward passes and looked like a modern football team.
Yeah.
Up and down the field on last Saturday. So I was really impressed with the offensive output of Iowa. I might be some fool's gold based on the opponent, but there's some real talent there, and there's some real stink starting to come off of that unit that they've gathered over the last few years.
It's a great way to put it. There's hardly been a piece of this Iowa receiving core that's inspired confidence. I'll say this: the first half was about as ugly as Iowa football typically is. It was 6-0 at the half.
There were a lot of jokes online. Much was made about the 6-0 score at halftime.
But then enter Reese Vanderzee, who the broadcast made a note in the first half of saying, hey, he's the only true freshman on the 2 deep for the Iowa Hawkeyes. And then lo and behold, the man goes off. He catches 5 passes for 66 yards. Most of that in the second half. He catches 2 touchdowns. The Hawkeyes had, I believe, 3 receiving touchdowns on the day, which they had, 2 wide receiver touchdowns all of last season, something like that. I mean, it was just, we were just breaking records left and right in Iowa City. The Clones, on the other hand, they come in with Rocco Beck at quarterback. And by now, if you've listened to our podcast, you know his story. Truly came out of nowhere in the wake of the sports gambling scandal in Ames last season. Iowa State returns a top 5 production rating, according to the SP Plus. They're as veteran a unit as Iowa is going to face all year long. I don't know that looking at this game on paper, you go, yeah, Iowa State is going to march into Iowa City and win this game. But I told you back in the preseason, I have this weird feeling that Iowa State figures out a way how to get it done in Ames. They did it last time, or I'm sorry, in Iowa City. They did it last time that they played against the Hawkeyes on the road. There's just something in the water that I must be drinking that's given me this confidence that the Clones can get it done. I need to see a lot more on the ground from the Clones this week. They were not really able to do much against North Dakota.
86 yards on the ground against North Dakota.
Yeah, Abu Sama was kind of MIA in a game that I really thought this was going to be an excellent tune-up for the rivalry game impending. But, Iowa State figured out a way to score points. I like the way that their defense played. They didn't get any sacks, but their pass rush was harassing the quarterback a little bit. I don't know. I feel like Iowa State has a good enough defense. Plus, I like Rocco Beck way more than I like Cade McNamara. I'm going to go with the Clones plus the 2.5 here. And I may totally regret this, but, it's one of those things I've been saying for a couple months now. I'm going to stick it out. Go Matt Campbell.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the type of game this will probably be, it's probably going to be low scoring. It's probably going to be a defensive slugfest. That's typically what this ball game is every single year. I think we're on like a 4 or 5 year streak of it hitting the under and staying under 40 points. So, man, I'm just really concerned about Iowa State's ability to run the football. You touched on that, but also stop the run. They let North Dakota kind of run wild on them last week, 174 yards on the ground. North Dakota's one scoring drive, and this is kind of the reason Iowa State didn't put up more than 21 points. North Dakota had a 12.5-minute drive in the first half in that game.
Yes,
and they also had more first downs than Iowa State throughout the game. So the defense did its job. They held them to only 3 points. They forced a turnover or 2. and kept them off the scoreboard for the most part. But getting off the field was really concerning. I think that's why I'm leaning Iowa in this one. Would not shock me in the slightest to see Iowa State pull out a win in this one. But I think I'm leaning Iowa. The home field advantage just showed me more running the football and stopping the run last week than what Iowa State did. Iowa State's capable of it. We've seen it in the past, but I don't know, for whatever reason, it just didn't show last week, and that's why I'm leaning Iowa.
I think if Iowa State can get some more pressure on Cade McNamara, especially in the first half, McNamara was pressured more than in the second half of the ball game, and he looked lost. That was when all the jokes were coming out. Nothing changed. Same old Iowa. If Iowa State can ramp up that pass rush and find ways to get McNamara off his spot, obviously this is a much better secondary that the Hawkeyes are going to go against. But they've got to be able to make Iowa one-dimensional. They've got to make them run the football so that they can key in on that run. If Campbell's group is able to do this in that 3-3-5, then heck yeah, man. I think the Clones are absolutely able to do this. But I would be lying if I said I wasn't a little bit nervous about Iowa State plus the 2.5. Look, I like a good chaos pick. Again, my extended family, they're all just bleeding Hawkeye, and so I'm probably not making the
You're gonna
top
sit
of
at the kids' table for Thanksgiving.
I think
If
so.
that comes to fruition.
I think so. I might not get that golf club. I'm hoping for at Christmas. But other than that, I think this is going to be a wildly entertaining game. Two great fan bases. I'm going to be locked in on this one. Again, this is 2:30 p.m. on CBS.
I'm excited about the quarterback matchup in this game, which feels weird for Cyhawk. I couldn't tell you the last time I've been excited about the quarterback matchup in this game. And also love that you're dropping Christmas gift hints on a week 2 preview show. That did not slip past me.
That's right. TP5s, 60-degree wedge. What else can I put in the algorithm here?
Gracious him. How about that?